Tonight, the Far West's new medical director urging more locals to work in healthcare, and border changes for SA and New South Wales amid Victoria's latest COVID outbreak.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. The new Director of Medical Services in the Far West says healthcare at Broken Hill Hospital continues to improve. Dr Tim Smart taking on the role this week, hoping to encourage more locals and young people to work within the health system.
Meet Broken Hill's new top doc. He's been filling in the role since April, but now it's official. Tim Smart is the new Director of Medical Services for the Far West.
My role basically is managing and coordinating the medical services in the area.
Bringing with him 22 years of clinical experience, mostly spent in rural health.
But from my point of view, I think that the challenges are quite singularly unique compared to the metro areas. And even though we might be small in numbers, we are really high in complexity.
He brings both administrative experience as well as medical experience. He is well regarded in the health sector.
More recently, Dr Smart oversaw staffing changes to the emergency department at Broken Hill Hospital, bringing the fast-track clinic service in-house. The aim of that change to drive down ED wait times.
Our latest figures showed that we really have improved dramatically.
While the hospital has come under recent criticism through coronial inquests and inquiries, he believes the service has improved dramatically over the past few years.
We've certainly received quite a lot of interest from younger specialists, surgical and non-surgical specialists, who've indicated that they'd like to come and work in Broken Hill.
Supporting locals wanting to work in healthcare also a priority.
These are the individuals we need, so it's important for us to talk to them, to be able to guide them, to be able to assist them in their interest.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
South Australia's border changes with Victoria have been put on hold. Following yesterday's announcement, Victoria will go into a 7-day lockdown. Most travellers who have been in Victoria are prohibited from entering South Australia. Essential travellers, returning SA residents, people relocating and those escaping domestic violence who have been in Victoria can enter, but are subject to level 4 requirements. Meanwhile, Broken Hill residents who have been in Victoria since 8 p.m. last night also face new restrictions. They must complete a border declaration and follow that state stay-at-home order for 14 days, but can leave for essential purposes. Broken Hill is not considered part of the border bubble by New South Wales, so residents are not exempt from the order.
Delta doesn't understand borders, it doesn't understand boundaries. We are dealing with a different strain. Dr Chant and I said what's happening in New South Wales is a national emergency.
An all-time high of 291 local cases were recorded in New South Wales today. A man was caught allegedly drink driving after being stopped near Ceduna on Wednesday evening. The 23-year-old driver from the area allegedly returned a blood alcohol reading of 0.159, more than 3 times the legal limit. Police say checks on his licence revealed the man was disqualified from driving, while his vehicle was unregistered and uninsured. His car was impounded and he's been summoned to appear in court at a later date. Meanwhile, suspected stolen property has been found in a shed by Ceduna Police. While investigating a break-in, police attended a house and seized property including 2 Apple iPads, Samantha Wills bracelets and a Toyota Land Cruiser key. Police now seeking help to identify the rightful owners. The items do not match any recent theft reports, but police suspect they were stolen from the Ceduna area. Anyone who recognises the items or has any information is asked to contact Ceduna Police or Crime Stoppers. Construction for the $10 million Southern Flinders Rangers precinct is well underway, despite being halted during the 7-day lockdown. It's set to be a major tourism drawcard, bringing in benefits for the regional community.
A project well on track for completion. Construction is well underway on the new visitor facility at the Warrabara Picnic Ground, replacing and upgrading toilets and installing a cycling and walking trail linking precincts together. Just one of many projects in the works as part of the Southern Flinders Rangers precinct.
Just north of Melrose, we've been constructing 5 new mountain bike trails, green and blue trails, so they're the more introductory and intermediate trails.
Concept planning for some works has now completed, including the amalgamation of conservation parks for the Southern Flinders Ranges National Park, a multi-day gorgeous walking trail, and also
Upgrading the campground and the day visitor area at Manbray Creek, and again we expect construction to commence in August for that and be completed by December next year.
The Port Pirie Mayor says he's confident the precinct will be open to the public by 2023.
And it's been one of the things that DEW, RDAs, councils alike, even Legatas, have actually been working super closely together so that we get the best outcomes. So, and it is progressing very, very well.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, a Clare Valley Winery's fight against climate change, committing to reducing emissions. And the 2020 Australian of the Year visits Port Lincoln, raising awareness for type 2 diabetes. Welcome back. The Whyalla City Council is lobbying for support from the community to keep the Annie Lockwood facility open. In a statement, the city's Mayor Clare McLaughlin says the privately owned and operated facility is important to her community. The council also asking the state and federal governments for support on the issue. The facility is due to close at the end of the month. A Clare Valley family-owned business has become one of the first independent Australian wineries to commit to reducing its emissions. Taylor's Wines now joining 31 other leading Australian businesses in the fight against climate change.
Committing to a more sustainable future.
We've always felt the impact of climate change in our business, and being a family generation, we've always wanted to hand the business from one generation in a better state than to the next.
Taylor's Wines announcing its commitment to science-based targets, pledging to reduce its emissions by 50% by 2030, in line with the Paris Agreement.
Which is about having zero net emissions in the year 2050, but we really want to get cracking on it now. We feel we need to be proactive today.
The third generation Clare Valley Winery already implementing new initiatives in a bid to combat climate change, including a wastewater plant and automated irrigation system.
Looking at our lighting, we're moving to all LED lighting, also introducing solar panels for electricity, and also looking at technologies in refrigeration.
Winemaker Mitchell Taylor says he's confident they can achieve the targets.
Everyone's really engaged and really looking at positive ways across the entire organisation where we can make a significant difference.
Now encouraging other Australian wineries to follow suit.
We're certainly being very collaborative with our friends, from Australia's First Families of Wine to share the information and to encourage other wineries to go along on this journey.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The census is due in just under a week's time, and the government is urging households to prepare and fill out the survey. Locals even encouraged to submit their forms online early, especially those in regional centres.
Every stat tells a story. The 2021 census taking place next Tuesday night, but people are getting in early to fill out their forms. Australian households have already submitted over 1 million census forms through the ABS website, in a strong indication more people will complete their forms online this year.
Not everybody's at home on a Tuesday night anymore, so we've made the decision that we'd open it up early. Most people know where they're going to be on Tuesday night, or know where their family's going to be on Tuesday night, so we thought we'd get them in, get them early, get as much response as we can.
This year, the Bureau of Statistics is expecting around 75% of people to complete the 2021 census online. That process allowing census forms to be submitted instantly, helping to include more data from regional areas.
Floods, fires, drought, COVID, so much has happened in the last 3-4 years to impact regional communities. It's absolutely critical we get an updated picture of what those communities look like.
The Bureau says the process is easy and early completions will help ensure a successful census.
So we'll also have census pop-up hubs where people can come in and ask any questions in person. So they'll be in high traffic areas such as shopping malls or anything like that.
Getting 100% coverage is what makes the census work. So it doesn't matter whether people are up in the Pilbara, down at Port Augusta, up in Mount Isa. We need to count them and we need to understand the differences.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
There was a special guest in Port Lincoln last night, the 2020 Australian of the Year. Dr James Mukey talking to locals about the risks associated with type 2 diabetes and what they can mean for your eyesight.
A real eye-opener for the Port Lincoln community. 2020 Australian of the Year, Dr James Mukey presenting his Don't Turn a Blind Eye presentation at Navigator College last night.
Hugely important message. We have about 1.7 million people in Australia with type 2 diabetes.
The ophthalmologist on a crusade to raise awareness of the negative effects of excessive sugary diets has on our eyesight. Many blinded by the truth.
Primarily type 2 diabetes, which makes up about 90% of cases, is the leading cause of blindness amongst working age adults in this country.
More than 150 Port Lincoln residents turning out for the presentation. An important message for the whole community.
I think it's the type of message that's better if everyone is aware of it, because we can all help each other to do better in the area of reducing the sugar in our diet.
The key takeaway from the night.
This is a disease that can be prevented, and to be aware that our poor diet, which is laced with sugary drinks and ultra-processed foods, is responsible.
While prevention was a key topic, learning how to live with the disease also highly beneficial.
Knowing how to take care of themselves so that they live a long and healthy life, even with diabetes, is really important.
Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Creative South Australian prisoners to showcase their artworks for a festival. And the state's variety bash set to make its way through the Spencer Gulf. Hello again. South Australian prisoners will showcase their artworks as part of a new exhibition. The event, held as part of the 2021 South Australian Living Artists Festival. More than 80 entries will be on display, ranging from acrylic on canvas, pencil sketches and crochet. Prisoners will not be identified and artworks are approved by the DCS Victim Services Unit. Visitors to the Whyalla City Council's Civic Centre are being advised of works at the building over the coming weeks. The building is undergoing repairs, with council warning of loud noises and dust. The centre remains open and visitors are still allowed to enter. It's been a challenging 18 months for aged care workers, protecting our most vulnerable against COVID-19. Today, those who've been supporting our older Australians through tough times were recognised ahead of Aged Care Employee Day.
Lockdowns, PPE and the fear of bringing the virus inside. These dedicated aged care staff are the final line of defence for our loved ones.
Aged care over the last 2 years has been, can't really describe it, it's been a roller coaster.
Staff at Southern Cross Care Broken Hills facilities given the recognition they deserve. A morning tea held ahead of Aged Care Employee Day tomorrow.
To have a day that just celebrates aged care employees as a whole, it is really special.
Heather Ainsworth, one of many awarded for milestones of service, 20 years working with aged care residents.
I love the residents. There are times when things can be a little difficult. However, we get through that and we're like a family here, it's true.
And while dealing with the pandemic, the sector took another hit. Rogue operators named and shamed in the Royal Commission.
It's like anything, you only hear the bad, not necessarily the good, and I think that's why days like this are so important.
These staff just a handful of the 360,000 Aussies looking after our senior citizens.
I just really love it and I don't intend giving it up anytime soon.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The South Australian Variety Bash is set to hit the road again this year and regional locals will be able to enjoy the festivities. Setting off in a week's time, the bash will pass through multiple towns in the Spencer Gulf. Our reporter Edward McCarroll has more.
Putting the pedal to the metal for a good cause. Australia's largest and longest running charity motoring event, the SA Variety Bash, returning for 2021. Running from next Saturday, August 21, the bash sees entrants sporting vibrant outfits and travelling in classic Australian cars along the predetermined route.
It's a really interesting social experiment, if you like, is that, that 350 people cohabitate for 8 days and nights together, and there's not a cross word.
This year, the bash will pass through regional towns such as Quorn and Port Augusta before finishing in Clare. In the 8-day-long event, participants will visit schools and organisations such as the Quorn Kindergarten.
It's about $80,000 plus of economic benefit that is injected into communities every day through the bash.
The event travelling 410 kilometres around the state, with each team raising funds throughout the year to assist South Australian children who are sick, disadvantaged or have special needs. Over the past 32 years, the SA Bash alone has raised an excess of $45 million for the charity.
Stay with us after the break. Our footy experts will join us with their tips for weekend games. And we'll have the weekend weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. Footy is back this weekend after some interruptions due to COVID-19 restrictions. If you're tipping, let's hear from our experts from around the regions.
Big round of matches coming up here in Whyalla football as we move into the finals, all about who could possibly make the top two and get that all-important double chance. First up tonight at Bennett Oval, it's West Whyalla versus North Whyalla. North is one of those teams that do need to win to keep moving up the ladder, but they take on top team West, and I think West will start favourite. Saturday's game at Bennett Oval will be Central Whyalla versus South Whyalla. Central's outside chance of making the top two. Either way, they're going to have a comfortable win on Saturday. And finally, the game at Memorial Oval will be Roona Bay versus Rapina. Bays have been great form lately, second on the ladder, and I think they'll keep on their winning way.
Welcome to Port Lincoln Footy Tips. We're kicking things off again after a few weeks off. We've got Waybacks hosting Marble Range at Centenary Oval. I'm tipping Marble Range to win and win by 5 goals. In the next game, we've got Mallee Park hosting Tasmans. This is actually going to be a real exciting game of footy. If Mallee Park drop this game, they've got a real threat for missing out on finals. I'm tipping Mallee Park to win by 5 goals. In the final game, we got Boston's hosting Lincoln South at Poole Oval. Boston's, on the other hand, they're starting to play competitive footy. Not getting the wins on the board that they probably like, and to be honest, I don't think they're going to get it this week either, but it's going to be a ripper game of footy. I'm going to tip Lincoln South to win by 6 goals.
Hello and welcome to round 12 of SGL football. After a 2-week layoff, we're back. We start this round with a double header here in Port Pirie. We've got Solly's taking on Centrals here at Memorial Oval and Port's taking on Lions at Port Oval. I think Solly's will be too strong in the match here against Centrals and Lions will get the points over at Port Oval. Up in Port Augusta, we've got South taking on West. South currently sit in 3rd position, just 1 game ahead of West, so this game should be a ripper. I'm tipping South.
Tomorrow is a much anticipated round of football as we see West play South. These two sides more than likely will meet in the grand final in a few weeks' time. Can West roll South? Well, the jury's still out. I'm going to stick with the undefeated champs. Central play North at Memorial Oval. Central haven't won a game all year. Tomorrow, I'm tipping them to beat the Bulldogs and win Game 1 for the season 2021.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather this weekend. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and good evening, everyone. A shower or two across most of the region today, but it seems those conditions are clearing over the weekend. From 3 p.m. today, Port Augusta reached 17 degrees. Broken Hill was partly cloudy and got to a high of 15, and Woodner had a shower or two and was 16 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, Whyalla and Port Pirie both reached 16 degrees. Port Lincoln reached 15, Kadina and Cleve both got to a high of 14. Adelaide had a shower or two and also reached 14. Clare was 12 and Cooper Pedy was partly cloudy and 18 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, cloud over southern South Australia with a moist and cool southwesterly wind is generating a few showers. Skies are clear in the north under a broad high and dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters, and it's looking to be a pretty calm day. Northwest to southwesterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas below 1 metre, and south to southwesterly swell around 1 metre. To tomorrow's temperatures now, Port Lincoln and Woodner both cloudy and 16 degrees. Cleve set to reach 15, Whyalla partly cloudy and 17. Port Augusta to top 18 degrees. and Kadina to top 15. Port Pirie partly cloudy in 17, Clare to reach a high of 13 and Broken Hill will reach 16 degrees. And on Sunday, sunny for Cooper Pedy, 20 degrees, partly cloudy across the rest of the region, temperatures in the mid to high teens. Taking a look further into next week now, and sunny across Cooper Pedy, Port Augusta, Woodner, Port Pirie, Whyalla and Kadina on Monday, partly cloudy across everywhere else. And on Tuesday, rain for Woodner and Port Pirie, windy for Cooper Pedy, sunny for Broken Hill and partly cloudy everywhere else, temperatures mainly in the mid to high 20s. So Ruby, we have some mighty fine conditions to look forward to over the next few days. Great news for the return of community sport, and boy, thank goodness we have local sport returning with the Olympics set to end. I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and that's all from me. Good night.
Wonderful, thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Friday evening. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your weekend and the last of the Olympics. John Hunt and the team will see you again on Monday with more local news. Good night.